Welcome to When Gen X Ruled the Multiplex, the films that shaped the MTV generation. The Last Dragon, the cult favorite martial arts comedy from 1985, was directed by prolific television director Michael Schultz, who also directed a bunch of films, including Crush Groove and Disorderlies. It was written by Louis Venosta, who was a principal dancer in the 1980 film Fame, and who also wrote the screenplay for Bird on a Wire. The most famous name attached to the film, however, is that of legendary record producer Berry Gordy, founder of the Motown label, who produced the film through his Motown Productions. Gordy's influence on the film explains why The Last Dragon is a martial arts comedy with a surprising amount of singing and dancing. To the opening strains of The Last Dragon, performed by Dwight David, a mild-mannered martial artist named Leroy Green is taught by a kung fu master played by Thomas Ikeda. His master tells him he is approaching the final level of his training. This final level, known as The Last Dragon, will be marked by a sublime glow all over his body. If you're familiar with Dragon Ball Z, you can just assume that Leroy will attain his Super Saiyan form. As his master can do no more for him, he presents Leroy with a gold medallion formerly owned by Bruce Lee, and advises him to search for a legendary master who can help him find the glow. Leroy is played by a teenaged martial artist named Taimak in his film debut. Among those considered for the role was celebrity fitness guru Billy Blanks, who would attain fame in the 90s for creating the popular Taebo workout. Inside You by Willie Hutch, featuring The Temptations, plays as Leroy ventures into New York City in search of the legendary master. He ends up in a movie theater where he eats popcorn with chopsticks while watching the Bruce Lee classic Enter the Dragon, surrounded by an unruly and enthusiastic crowd. Midway through, a local martial arts legend named Show Nuff, known as the Shogun of Harlem, enters the theater, flanked by his splendidly dressed entourage. Show Nuff is played by Julius Carry, who'd go on to star with Bruce Campbell in the Fox series The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr. When a small boy in the audience tells Show Nuff that Leroy could kick his ass, Show Nuff becomes enraged. He challenges Leroy, who is known throughout the community as Bruce Leroy due to his martial arts skills, to a fight. Leroy is too peace-loving to take the bait, and while other audience members start a brawl, Leroy quietly leaves the theater. We're introduced to a mobster from Queens named Eddie Arcadian, played by Christopher Murney, and his girlfriend, an aspiring new wave singer named Angela Veracco, played by Faith Prince, Tony winner for playing Miss Adelaide in Guys and Dolls on Broadway. Eddie lives in an utterly fabulous all-chrome 80s lair, which comes complete with a tank filled with meat-eating fish. Also on hand is Eddie's henchman Rock, a washed-up boxer played by character actor Mike Starr. Eddie is scheming to get Angela's music videos airtime on a music television program called Seventh Heaven, which is hosted by a glamorous VJ named Laura. Laura is played by Prince's one-time protege Vanity, whom we have already seen in Never Too Young to Die. On Laura's show, the popular R&B group DeBarge performed their smash hit single, Rhythm of the Night. We see the entire music video for Rhythm of the Night, from start to finish. This is totally filler, but Rhythm of the Night is a great song, so I approve. Backstage at Seventh Heaven, Laura tells her manager JJ that she won't feature Angela's music videos on her program, no matter how much Eddie pressures her. JJ is played by William H. Macy, Oscar nominee for Fargo. On stage, Laura performs the song Seventh Heaven. After the show, she's mobbed for autographs outside the studio. Leroy happens to be passing by, and he and Laura bat their beautiful eyes at each other, probably because they're the two most ridiculously attractive people in the area, and thus are destined to be together. Laura's limo is hijacked by Eddie Arcadian's goons, led by a driver played by Usual Suspects star Chaz Palminteri, Oscar nominee for Bullets Over Broadway. Leroy intervenes and beats up all the goons. He disappears before Laura can thank him. Dressed in Bruce Lee's iconic yellow jumpsuit from Game of Death, Leroy teaches kung fu to a bunch of students. His students include the enthusiastic and adorable Johnny Yu, played by Glenn Eaton. I love all the Last Dragon characters, but my heart belongs to Johnny Yu. Show Nuff and his entourage burst into the studio to challenge Leroy, and once again Leroy refuses to fight. At the Green family home, Leroy's streetwise kid brother Richie, played by Leo O'Brien, is endlessly mortified by his soft-hearted and hopelessly uncool big brother. Leroy's parents, who are played by Jim Moody and gospel star Queen Esther Marrow, are more understanding. Leroy also has a toddler sister, who is played by Rudy Huxtable herself, Keisha Knight Pulliam. Richie, who has a hopeless crush on Laura, watches a broadcast of Seventh Heaven, and Leroy recognizes her from the kidnapping attempt. Hoping to see Laura, Leroy tags along with Richie to a Seventh Heaven dance rehearsal. Posing as sound technicians, Rock and his goons kidnap Laura outside the studio. Leroy is too late to stop them, but he finds a book at the crime scene linking them to Eddie Arcadian. In his lair, Eddie forces Laura to watch Angela's music video for her pop song, Dirty Boys. I know we're supposed to find Angela's music ridiculous and buffoonish, but honestly, I have heard and seen worse. In fact, Dirty Boys is downright catchy, and if I were an executive at MTV circa 1985, I'd probably put her video into regular rotation. Laura has more discerning tastes, and she refuses to play Angela's video on her show. Leroy bursts in, dressed as a ninja, and beats Eddie and his goons up before whisking Laura to safety. Laura takes Leroy to her fabulously 80s apartment. There's a great deal of chemistry between them, but Leroy is too shy and inexperienced to make a move. Sukiyaki Hot Saki Su by Raw Dog plays on the streets of Chinatown as Leroy locates the Sumdumgoy fortune cookie factory, where, it is rumored, the fortunes are written by the master who can show him the secret of the last dragon. He's shooed away by the factory's 3 streetwise guardians who, the credits tell me, are named Hugh Yi, Du Yi, and Lu Yi. Or, Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Looking for a fight, Shonuff invades the pizza joint run by Leroy's parents and trashes the place. Humiliated by his defeat, Eddie decides to have Leroy killed. Meanwhile, Angela is filming a splendidly tacky music video for her new song Test Drive, which involves wearing headlights on her breasts and a license plate on her ass. Seriously, I am willing to buy every album Angela ever makes. Angela is horrified to realize her mobster boyfriend wants Leroy dead, and she walks out on him. Rock and Eddie offer Shonuff a suitcase of cash to take out Leroy, but Shonuff happily offers to do it for free. Leroy visits Laura to confess his feelings for her. Laura takes him to the Seventh Heaven studio, where Willie Hutch's The Glow plays while scenes from Bruce Lee films are projected on giant screens. Inspired by his idol, Leroy works up the courage to kiss Laura. As soon as Leroy leaves, Eddie and Rock arrive and kidnap Laura. Richie tries to come to her defense and is kidnapped as well. Angela visits Leroy's studio and tells Johnny that Eddie is going to have Leroy killed. Back at Seventh Heaven, the video for Fire, a song by Charlene, the singer best known for the 1977 ballad I've Never Been to Me, is projected on the screens while Eddie taunts a captive Laura and Richie. Peeping Tom by Rockwell plays as Leroy disguises himself as a pizza delivery man to sneak into the fortune cookie factory. Rockwell, who is the son of Berry Gordy, is of course best known for the utterly infectious 1984 hit Somebody's Watching Me. Leroy gets past Hugh Yi, Du Yi, and Lu Yi only to find the master is a myth made up to sell more fortune cookies. The fortunes are actually written by a computer. Outraged, Leroy returns to his original master, who assures him he already knows everything he needs to know to achieve the glow. Johnny is determined to accompany Leroy on his quest to rescue Laura and Richie from Eddie, but Leroy locks him in a cabinet and heads to the studio alone. Johnny is rescued by a young student named Ty, who is played by itty-bitty martial arts superstar Ernie Reyes Jr., well known to Gen Xers for his roles in Red Sonja and the ABC series Sidekicks. Ty and Johnny and the rest of Leroy's students head to the Seventh Heaven studio to help Leroy out. Leroy takes on Eddie and his goons in his attempt to rescue Laura and Richie. Johnny and Ty give him a hand, and the fight turns into a big brawl. Eddie drags Laura to an abandoned warehouse. Leroy follows and is ambushed by Shonuff, who reveals himself as a master of the glow. Leroy also develops the glow, and he defeats Shonuff. Eddie shoots Leroy in the face, but Leroy catches the bullet in his teeth and turns Eddie over to the police. During a broadcast of Seventh Heaven, Leroy presents Laura with flowers, and First Time on a Ferris Wheel by Smokey Robinson and Cyrita plays us into the credits. Too many Last Dragon cast members died too young. Julius Carry died at 56, Leo O'Brien died at 41, and Vanity died at 57. Taimak has worked pretty steadily as an actor and a martial artist, but he's still best known for his debut role in this film, and the same goes for Glenn Eaton. But even for those cast members who didn't achieve much fame beyond this film, it's still a pretty cool accomplishment. The Last Dragon is a cross-cultural classic. It's a kung fu film steeped in Eastern philosophy, starring a predominantly black cast, and set in majority black neighborhoods throughout New York City. As a very cool non-white leading man in the 1970s, Bruce Lee was a popular figure among many black Americans. Jamaican-born singer Carl Douglas had a #1 hit in 1974 with the disco track Kung Fu Fighting, which is a love letter to kung fu films. The Last Dragon is a celebration of that cross-cultural enthusiasm. Screenwriter Louis Vanosta first got the idea for the film when he went to a screening of Enter the Dragon in a jam-packed Times Square movie theater in 1983, and found that the audience members were dressed in kung fu gear and were reciting the dialogue along with the actors. In 2008, RZA of the Wu-Tang Clan had plans to remake The Last Dragon, starring Rihanna as Laura and Samuel L. Jackson as Shonuff. That never happened, but in 2012, RZA co-wrote, directed, and starred in the martial arts period piece The Man with the Iron Fist, which, like The Last Dragon, is a triumph of culture swapping. The Last Dragon is a genre mishmash. It's a kung fu film, and a comedy, and a romance, and a blaxploitation film. It's got some vague supernatural elements with the glow, and every few minutes the film stops down so we can watch a music video. It throws a lot of stuff at the screen, and while not everything sticks, it's an infectiously cheerful and energetic film. The Last Dragon was released in 1985, which is the year I always think of as peak 80s, in which the ridiculous over-the-top excesses of the decade hit their apex before beginning the gradual slide into the more moderate 90s. That stretch from 1984 to 1986 saw the release of a bunch of films that were utterly gonzo mishmashes of all kinds of elements from all kinds of genres. Examples include Big Trouble in Little China, Night of the Comet, Repo Man, Howard the Duck, Highlander, and The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension. The Last Dragon most definitely falls into that category. It's one of those films that's just fun to look at. A lot of credit goes to costume designer Robert DeMora, who absolutely nailed the look of these characters. Every single outfit Vanity wears as Laura is a glittery delight. Angela's performance costumes are hilariously unhinged, and Shonuff and his entourage always look like $1,000,000. In the music video for his 1997 track Dangerous, Busta Rhymes pays homage to Shonuff's signature look of football shoulder protectors reconfigured as samurai armor. It's a film that looks great and is jam-packed with entertaining moments. Disdained by critics upon release, The Last Dragon is a favorite among Gen Xers, who were delighted to spend some time with Bruce Leroy and the Shogun of Harlem. Next time, I'm looking at the film debut of Val Kilmer in the 1984 spy comedy Top Secret. Thank you very much for joining me here today. I will see you here later.